Well, what's going on, Facebook family? It's your main man, Joe Dupree in the building, 100 BLK, the Black Station, along with Edward J. Brown, my brother from another mother in the building, Positive Choices Counseling Service. It is another Wellness Wednesday, the day after Mardi Gras, Ash Wednesday, where your mental health matters because a healthy you
Is
is
a
a better
better
you.
you.
Brother Brown, how you doing, my friend?
What's going on, man? How you doing, man? Happy day after Mardi Gras, you know?
Yeah. I know the day before Mardi Gras is Lundi Gras. The
Correct.
day after Mardi Gras is just the day after Mardi
It's
Gras.
just Ash Wednesday.
Ash
It's Ash
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Okay,
You know, and for
so
those folks who are practicing Catholicism, it's just the point where we go and begin the Lenten season.
okay.
You know, and that's one of those things that I figure we could throw out there, because one of the things about Lent is that you are supposed to sacrifice or give up something, and or what's the new trend these days is take on something, you know, in order of recognition for the ultimate sacrifice, which was the sacrifice that God made by giving us and allowing his son to be crucified. So,
Okay.
you know, it's funny because for me, being raised Catholic, but I wouldn't say that I'm a practicing Catholic, but I do, you know, hold true to some of the principles in the Lent. The season of Lent is one that is close to me, because I always try to give back and sacrifice something, you know. So this year, just like every year, I give up alcohol, and for those who know me, the ultimate, which is sweets. I give up all cakes, cookies, donuts, and anything pertaining to sweets until Easter Sunday. So this year I decided to add a couple of things. I'm gonna go to the gym more,
Okay.
and I'm going to read my Bible a little bit more. You know, try to
Okay.
understand
Right.
the
Try to get
word.
into that. Try to get into that word a little bit
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
So
You know, so
listen,
that's
family. We are in the building once again. It is on. So tell a friend to tell a friend. Uh, hopefully you made it through Mardi Gras well, safe and sound. I
absolutely.
can honestly say that there was no incidents in the big city of Lafayette, Louisiana, no major incidents, and we were very happy and proud of that. I know down in New Orleans there were a few things that happened, and
Yeah.
my prayers go out to those who went down to Mardi Gras to have a good time and were befallen to some type of tragedy. There was even some life-taking tragedies that happened in New Orleans during this Mardi Gras season. So my prayers go out to those who went down to have a good time, but because of the ignorance of some folks, winded up in a very bad situation.
You know,
And
we talked about that before we came on. That New
right,
Orleans is, because I was in New Orleans when it was the murder capital of the country, and it appears now that we are heading back down that trend
mm,
where the actions of a few is extreme, and it is shedding a very terrible light on the city that I so love, which is my hometown of New Orleans, Louisiana. So I'm with you. I pray every day that people are safe, people are smart, and these young folks begin to make better decisions.
yeah,
So
definitely. So tonight, another Wellness Wednesday as we start off the month of March on this. Actually, it's the second day of March, isn't it?
today is the second. Yeah.
See there, I'm a day ahead of time. I got to change something. So, Brother Brown, take it away, my friend.
You know, as we kick off this Lenten season, um, there's a couple of things that I think we should think about, and one of those things is sacrifice. You know, we just came from Black History Month, which, in my opinion, is the month where we really truly look at the sacrifices made for the quality of life for which we're living now, the freedom to to do certain things and to come and go and to not be victims of racism, prejudice, and things like that. I think that we need to take a step back and look at things that has been sacrificed for us to be where we are today. And more so, what seems to be a little relevant at this point is what are we sacrificing for the things that we would like or the things that we want in our lives. I had a conversation this weekend regarding some young people and the sense of entitlement that people have. You know, not that you earn it, not that you gain the expertise to attain it, but simply I want it, you have it, you give it. And unfortunately, we are losing the concept of sacrifice in order to gain a quality of life that we're interested in. Show you what I mean by that. We are part of what I call the microwave society. And that is where everything is right now. You know, Brother Dupree, we look at some of these young people, and when I go and I speak, I say, how many of you in here have ever made popcorn in a pot? And they look like, what is that? You know, like what? And you and I, Brother Dupree, we know this move right here where you shake it. That is the universal.
It's Orville Redenbacher 101.
That's right. So you know, now there used to be the word popcorn on the microwave. Now it's just a picture. So we are in a situation where now everything is given, everything is microwavable, everything is instant. What do we do to teach the concept of sacrifice, you know, versus this instant society we have? I remember I had an instructor my very first year as a freshman at Southern University. And he said something that holds true to this day. And I use it in my classes. He said, everything that you're doing right now is not for right now. It's for later down the line.
That's true.
You know, and I didn't understand, you know, like, what was he talking about? You know, you think you're doing it to get that grade. You think you're doing it to move through your educational career. But what you're actually doing is developing the skills that you will utilize further down the line. And unfortunately, we have different parenting. We have social media now, who's raising the children. I remember that when they said television was raising our children. Now it's no longer television. It's absolute, pure social media. The internet is what we utilize more than anything else.
Correct.
So what do we do to bring back the old ideology that I am willing to sacrifice now for later? That's the whole concept of investment.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Very good
now
question.
Everybody's looking for crypto because tomorrow morning you can. I love that commercial where the brother say, "I'm a millionaire."
I'm a millionaire.
No, I'm a millionaire. No, I'm not. Because crypto is making it easier to be millionaires if you know what you're doing.
Correct.
But I remember when you got your 401k and every year you looked at what your return was for that year.
Correct.
Not that day, not that week, but that year.
Correct.
We were our success was predicated on how much you do now that will pay off later.
Well, back in the cut, we were about the long game.
Yeah.
You know, these days in time, see, we were about the long game. Everything was always a 5, a 10, a 15, a 20-year plan.
Correct.
These days, like you say, you have instant millionaires.
Instant society.
You know, the pour water, stir it, and now it's good to go. You know, it wasn't. You know, and I always ask myself, how do we bridge it? How do we bridge some of the new technology with the old philosophies and come up with a formula that really is to me the perfect formula, because there's always an evolution. If you don't evolve, you become extinct.
That's right.
But at the same time, there are still some things that need to be preserved in evolution, that you don't lose the flavor. It's just like if somebody doesn't pass on that right recipe
Correct.
for red beans and rice, or
Or
for
the
gumbo,
macaroni and cheese.
right. So a macaroni and cheese, you may evolve and make it quicker, or make it to the point that you can get it done much faster, but it won't have the same flavor.
Exactly. And the problem that I see today is that older people, we are set in our ways, but we are willing to learn.
Right.
The problem comes in is the younger generation doesn't have the patience to teach.
Correct.
You know, so if I sit down, because I've had conversations with my son, and he's like, Dad, just do this, just do that. It's simple. And I remember many years ago, I had to say, you know, the problem with this exchange is you assume I know what you know.
Right.
And I don't.
Right.
I said, you have to be patient and teach me what you know.
Right.
So I think there was oh man, you really got me telling on I created a presentation, a workshop called Bridging the Gap. And Bridging the Gap was a presentation I did to school systems where I talked to teachers on how to communicate with the younger generation. And it was so funny because they would laugh. I said, here's the analogy. To show you how long ago this presentation was. I said, your cassette, their CD. Now, CDs are obsolete. Everything is streaming. So even if we say, okay, you're a CD, they're streaming. How do you bridge the two? You know, these days you can't buy a new car and there's a CD player in it.
You won't find a CD player.
You won't find a CD player. And back when I did that presentation, I said, you know, some of y'all still have cassettes, but they don't even put cassettes in the car. Everything is a CD now. Now CDs are obsolete.
Correct.
You know, so but at the same time, Brother Dupree, I'm more than sure, and I'm gonna bet $1. If I come to your house, you got a bunch of CDs.
Somewhere.
CDs somewhere in your house. So
you are absolutely correct.
They're still around. They're just not utilized as much. We don't even use DVD players. Everything is streaming. So I'm with you, and the discussion we can have tonight is, where do we bridge or merge the two? Where do we merge, you know, growth and progression with history that worked as well?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, you know, because at the end of the day, you still have to change the brakes on the car.
Correct.
I don't care how technically advanced that car is, you still got to change the oil in it, unless you have a electric car, but then you still got to change the brakes on it.
Okay.
So we have to find that merge where we can bring forth old and new and make it all work together.
That's great. That's why I'm talking about. We've got to find a way that we can still advance and we still can move forward. But at the same time, with us moving forward and advancing, we position ourselves that we don't lose the flavor. See, it's one thing to you know, to be able to do it quicker, better. But then when you lose the flavor, you did all this advancing really to get knocked back. You know, like I tell people, it doesn't make sense to make 10 steps forward only to get knocked 20 steps back.
Correct. You know, and you and I both know everything that's quick ain't good.
Right.
So, you know, you've had homemade mashed potatoes.
Correct.
I don't care how good. Oh, these are the best. This is Idaho. If you got to add water, it ain't good as if you cut them, boil them, do what you do. It's just not the same.
Correct.
So we have to look at our society is forever changing. But Brother Dupree, we're not going anywhere. Me and you still here. God said the same.
Correct. Correct.
So should we not be able to function in this new modern society filled with technology as well?
Correct. Correct.
You know, it's so funny because when I get around younger people, and you know, we are merging those two generations, it's magical. You know, because here's the thing, I don't care what they say, and I'll do an open challenge right here on Wellness Wednesday. I don't care what they say. They do not want to do an old school versus new school versus.
Correct.
I'm talking about, I'll take as many of these young folk, y'all get y'all music. It have to be 2010 or newer. I'm going to take 2010 and older. Music is different. But there are some people today. You'll have the Beyoncés in the new group.
Right.
You know, you'll have the I don't even know some of these folks. I know the people that I like, they may fall under the old group. I don't know. You know, but the NDIREs and the,
correct,
you know, those type of people. We have to find that common ground where we all can coexist. And if we did that, I think you would see less conflict.
I think you're absolutely correct.
The younger generation would learn how to resolve conflict the way we did, without killing, without harm, a harsh word or two maybe, but for the most part, we could communicate.
You know, I'm going to say this, my brother, and it's strange that you are talking about this. It lets me know there's some divine intervention here. There was a lot of killing going on back in the cut. Here's the problem between then and now. Everybody has a way of raising up one of these and filming it. You know, I tell people this police brutality thing is nothing new.
No.
Injustice is nothing new.
It's just
right. It's just now we have platforms where it can be seen, where it couldn't be seen. It was only a word of mouth thing back in the cut. Like a good friend of mine asked me, he said, you know, man, what's happening to radio? What's happening to media? Because we see all these changes, because I'm a media guy. And I said, here's the difference. I said, when I was a child, we had 3 TV stations.
That's right.
At 12 o'clock midnight, they went off.
Everything went off.
If you had to change the channel, you had to get up to change the channel. You didn't have no
remote control.
Right. You channel, right. ABC, you know, you had to have aluminum foil on the bunny ears.
Right.
Depending on where you lived. So, you know, these days and times, this is the craziest thing. It used to be, if you wasn't listening to Walter Cronkite, you didn't believe what was coming anyway. But now you got news reporters on every corner, on every situation, talking about what is happening. And it's crazy because somebody right now, all they got to do, turn on their camera. Look here, I'm reporting live from the scene. The police just pulled up, and their grammar might be messed up, but they'll wind up getting 10 million views from them. Hey, I'm hearing that. Listen, it's going down in the hood. You hear that in the background? Pow, pow, pow. Oh my goodness. You know, because now, and I tell people, hey, like you said, in this instant society, there are now individuals who are getting opportunities that wouldn't have been presented back in the 70s or the 80s because the technology wasn't there.
Correct.
You know, that's just real talk.
Well, you know, at the time, you know, we look at, like you said, there were 3 stations. And I remember when that unicorn of cable came out, my boy came, he said, man, I hear they got this thing called cable and you get 9 channels.
Right.
What you need 9 channels for? You know, we didn't need 9 channels.
Right.
Now, DirecTV offers over almost 300 channels.
Right.
At the end of the day, it makes you say why. And we discussed this in class some nights because there were so many different cultures and subcultures that was not represented on those 3 channels.
Mm.
Because remember, we had American Bandstand.
Correct.
And then Don Cornelius said, hold on a minute. I don't see enough black people dancing on there.
So let's come out with the soul.
So let's create soul
train.
And you knew it was time to get the evening, because in the mornings you watch cartoons.
Right.
And at 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock some places, Soul Train came on.
Right.
And every black household in America was watching Soul Train.
Waiting for the Soul Train line. Waiting for the Soul Train line and the scramble board.
And the scramble board.
My man would say, now listen, we've got something real funky and fine right here. We're going to put these words together and scramble them up, and listen. Whatever it is, it's a smooth groove to make your body move.
That's right. There you go, Joe. Exactly. Now, we grew up on that. So you're going to tell me now that, because I got the whole Soul Train DVD, the whole Soul Train DVD package in the closet.
All right.
And my thing was, you mean to tell me that these younger people today would not benefit from looking at the history that was Soul Train, the BET, the Aretha Franklins, the Marvin Gayes,
James Brown,
the Gladys Knights.
Come on, the Commodores.
All of these people, when we saw them, we all wanted to be Pips. Woo woo!
Right.
You know,
come on.
We watched this on television and was like, wow. So now you would be remiss to find a video anymore. They don't even make videos. If they do, I don't know where they're playing them at.
Right. Hold it. The extinct dinosaur. Like I said, if you don't evolve and in your evolution makes transitional moves, you become extinct.
Correct.
Look at Blockbuster. There was a
Correct.
time we used to line up in Blockbuster. Lord knows I spent many a dollars in Blockbuster. If I recall right, in my younger days, I believe I worked in a Blockbuster.
Listen,
you know,
when the new movie came out, you hurry up and ran that, and it was gone. God,
okay.
Dog, it was gone.
Right.
Now, video games. You don't even have to have the disc anymore. You buy the games offline and they download it to your console.
Correct.
So I think that there has to be a merging, as you called it. There has to be a merging of the two. And in order for that to happen, this dying thing that we call communication has to come back.
Correct.
It has to come back. We have to be able to sit down and talk with one another and bridge that gap of generational boundaries. If we do not bridge the gap of generational boundaries, we are going to forever grow farther and farther apart. So, I sit down and I look at my grandsons now, and when I'm around, they love to talk. We just talk. Poppy this, Poppy that. And we have that sense of communication. Now, there's those times when they're not around. My son will say they're on their tablets.
Right.
Everywhere they go, the tablets go. So at some point, we have to make talking like we do in this podcast.
Correct.
We have to make it mandatory and attractive.
We have to unplug to get to know one another.
Correct.
See, it's sad when you know more folk on Facebook than you know folk that are in your face.
In life, exactly.
Let me say that again. It's bad when you know more folks on Facebook and what's going on in their world than the folks that are in your face.
Babe. Hey, look, Brother Dupree, I'm about to go back on you. Ready?
You hit me.
Now we got Facebook. When you and I was coming up, we had that little black book.
Right.
Everybody had a little black book.
Right, with numbers in. Oh yeah, and if you were real popular, you had all the nice looking ladies in your phone book and all the cool fellas too. You'd be like, oh yeah, so and so be like, well man, I hold it. And we didn't have cell phones. No. We had the rotary phone. That's right. That was in the kitchen, and if you were really cold, you had a long enough cord to reach all the way to your room.
You can move.
And if you had money, you had it where you could click the phone and you could go to another line. You didn't
That's
have
right.
just one line.
That's
You know,
right.
you'd be like, hold on for a second. Click.
Man.
Hello.
You remember when call waiting came out?
Yes,
Because
sir.
if you used to call, you had a busy signal.
Yes,
You
sir.
had a busy. So we made it through all of that, and we merged our generation. You know, that's the thing we got to talk about, Brother Dupree. We were able to merge our generation with our parents' generation.
Correct.
Where did the disconnect come from the generations after that to now?
Okay. Now, this is my humble opinion.
Okay.
This is gonna sting some folk.
Well,
And,
we've done it before.
And please charge it to my head and not my heart, but this has to be said. Too many of my generation and too many of the generation just before my generation, maybe 5 years before, I'm in my 50s, we were so busy chasing the dollar and so busy trying to provide
Better.
a better. Let's
Yeah,
call
better.
it that. Let's provide better. That we stop rearing. We stopped doing little simple things that I didn't know how simple they were until I noticed that I wasn't doing them. I used to sit down for breakfast in the morning with my mom and dad before I went to school. When I was out of school, I would sit down for breakfast, I would sit down for lunch, and I would sit down for dinner. So I got 3 times that I had the grand opportunity to sit with my mother and father and conversate. You know, if you sit down 1 time a week with your family unit these days and times, you're really getting some meaningful communication, face-to-face time with family members, because folks are so busy these days and work schedules are so hectic. You know, like some folks, the man of the house or the provider of the house, be it a man or a woman, the provider of the house goes to work 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, the other significant other, be it male or female, doesn't go to work until 5 o'clock in the evening. So when one is coming, one is going. You know, some work on weekends, some don't. You know, we're really in a pass me by, fly by day, fly by night world these days. You know, many a times, imagine this: most of us see the people we work with more than the people that we have made vows with.
That's right.
I'm just saying.
We are, but so let's look at causality. The reason it's that way is because the days of single income households is no longer effective. You know, socioeconomic conditions of our culture today makes it mandatory that because we want our children to go to better schools. So those schools seem to be the private schools. That costs. If you want to live in the better neighborhoods, you seem to have to pay more. So the days of saying, well, daddy going to work, when you come home, mama's home, the snack is ready, she's cooking dinner, when daddy get home, we all sit down. That's different. Because now both parents work in order to make the lifestyle or the quality of life that we want to have. Now, there is a way to make that work, because I've seen, and I still see it today, it's almost like a dance. Like you said, mom is doing work, dad's helping with the homework. When dad finished with the homework, mom put them in the tub, and they work like a fine unit. And they understand that it is all for the betterment of the whole. But you're right, things do suffer. We don't see each other as much. We're both extremely tired at the end of the day. The problem we're talking about today, even in that circumstance, is where does the communication and the relationships survive? And how do they survive? And the only way they can survive is my son and my daughter love when we all get together, because they like, daddy, just talk. Let's talk. Because my dad talks about this, he talks about that. And I realized I got that from my grandfather. him and I would sit down and talk, man, till he said, look, I'm going to bed. I'm sleepy. I had that same relationship with my son. My son would stay up and his mom would say, you know, you got to go to school tomorrow. That boy got to go to school. And we talked about everything from what he wanted to achieve in life, where I was in my career. He was very in tune. So was Leah. So there is a way to bring it, but it is not going to work if we do not unplug and communicate.
Correct.
It's not going to work. The key to all of this is maintaining the channels of communication. And that is what we've lost. You know, that is what we've lost, that ability to communicate with one another.
You know, brother, you're so right. And then there's so many issues we're trying to resolve within our communities.
Mhm.
Right now, we're coming out of a pandemic.
Mhm.
Seems to be we might be going into a world war. You know,
Correct.
and I tell people you need to really watch history and understand how this is playing with people's mental health.
Correct.
Because
Oh, yeah.
somebody told me, no, we couldn't be going into a world war. I said, well, if you go back, they always say if you don't learn history, it's bound to repeat itself. And the last time I checked, if you right now Google World War II, the first move Hitler made was he tried to invade a little small country called Austria. He said, we need it back because it belongs to us. Kind of sounds like a guy named Putin saying, we need Ukraine back because it belongs to us.
Correct.
So, you know, I'm praying this doesn't happen. But once again, if you don't learn history, study history, is bound to repeat itself.
Yeah.
So, you know, right now, it's times like this, communication needs to be a thing we focus on a great deal because it plays with people's mental health.
Absolutely.
People, we need to learn to talk to one another, the old to the young, the black to the white, the Democrat to the Republican, the males to the females. Because if we can't talk to one another, then only way we can resolve any issue is through conflict.
But if we're not even having communication within the family structure, there was a different structure back in the day. Dad, mom said, like you said, you had meals with your family. It wasn't that you couldn't eat in another room.
Correct.
But this was our opportunity to exchange and communicate.
Right.
Nowadays, children get their food and they go in their room and close the door.
Correct.
If, you know, and we have parents that's okay with that.
Right.
You know, so when you sit there and say, how didn't you know your daughter or son was depressed? Well, they never said anything. Did you ask?
Right.
Well, you know, I work and they go to school and school and work is not new. It's always been around. The difference was parents made children do things they didn't want to do.
Correct. Oh, now that's see, okay. You know, and maybe that's another thing we as a people need to start doing. We need to really start talking about and offering other ways that individual can parent their children. You're right. There wasn't a lot of options given to you and I.
You didn't have a choice.
Hold it. And we better not say too much. You know, I find myself shopping in Walmart, Target, and other shopping centers, Costco, Sam's Club. And there's not a time that I haven't been in the last times that I went that I didn't find what I call disrespectful children. You know, stuff that if my mama was still living and I had said, you wouldn't have to worry about me saying that ever again. Because there would be some slow singing and flower bringing.
That's right. You know, or if you did, you wasn't gonna do it again.
Oh no.
You know, it was something that would make you say, "Oh no, I'm not doing that again."
Oh no.
You know,
no.
But nowadays, to avoid conflict, parents do not bridge or they do not force character building, skill building opportunities onto their children.
Right.
You know, I know, like I told you many times on these podcasts, my mom used to say, I know you don't want to do it anyway. It builds character. I'm
Correct.
like, what is this character thing? What is she talking? I'm 10. You know, what is she? I don't want to do. It got to the point where, as an adult, the people who are successful are the ones that do what other people don't want to do.
Correct.
So now we have parents that say, well, I'll just do it myself. He doesn't want to wash the dishes. She doesn't want to fold the clothes. She doesn't want to study. So I'm not going to make them.
Right.
And I always say, well, why are we trying to change things that worked? Why don't we fix things that didn't work? No, you didn't like what your parents told you, but look how successful you are.
Correct. Correct.
So
And
why
hold
not
it.
do that?
And we have to give them their proper credits and their proper accolades in that. I think a lot of times people just really in their selfishness don't want to credit their mothers and fathers for saying, I didn't have a college degree. You're going to get one.
Correct.
You know, because many of us in our 50s, in our late 40s, in our early 60s, we're first generation, if not second generation college grads.
Yeah.
So, let's just be real about it. We got to give credits to our mothers and fathers, be it that you came from a mother and father home where both were there, be it that you came from a blended family, a single family home. At the end of the day, there were some people in there that made some serious sacrifices.
Isn't that what we started talking about
Right,
today?
right. Some serious sacrifices.
And paying homage to those individuals.
Right.
But there was a family structure.
Right.
Even in non-traditional back then, which would have been the single parents.
Right.
See, now that's almost the norm, unfortunately.
Correct.
But single parent households was non-traditional back then. There was even structure within that. There was structure within the, mom stay at home work, dad goes home, dad brings the check to mom, gives it to mom takes care of the household, there's food, the children have clothes, and it ran like a fine oil machine.
Correct.
You tell a brother today, he's going to walk in the house and give his wife his whole check. Take $25 out for yourself. Well, it'll be a little more now because we're in 2022. But you take a few dollars out and mama going to run the house.
Correct.
Wait a minute, I'm going to give you all my money? It's we're a family, we're a structure. You're the provider, I'm the nurturer. But these things, they don't want to hear the traditional versus the non-traditional anymore. Well, now, marriage and relationships are like a business arrangement.
Well,
so
and then,
now we're not even talking about rearing of children when you have to take two different rearing styles,
right,
and merge them together to make one merge. You may have come from a house where they was spare the rod, spoil a child. So corporal punishment was fine in your house.
Correct.
I come from a house where I never got spanked.
Right.
So now we ain't spanking our children. You like, the hell we not? That joker get out of line, I'm gonna pepper his butt. So how do you merge these two separate styles into one structure that actually works
and function? See, because
that's right.
Because watch this. Let's just be very honest about something. And I was sitting here thinking about it. Dysfunctionality has become so normal. You brought up something. Back when I was a child, there was very few motherless, fatherless families unless there was really something bad that happened. These days it's common. We get to the point that we turn things of dysfunctionality into normality. And we got to stop that. Like and that messes with your mental health. Because let's just really be real about it. People of color committing crimes up to homicides against people of color have become so normal that don't even faze us. It has to be somebody who don't look like us doing something to us for us to lose our head. But if we do something to us, it's done become the dysfunctionality done become something. Oh, so Junebug shot Shorty. That's you know how Junebug is.
That's just how it is.
Shorty shouldn't even been over there.
Yeah.
That's how we talk.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother show, Brother Dupree. When we start talking about the systematic ideologies and the systematic things that we've been through, and one of my partners, he was my mentor. He's from New York, but he was living in New Orleans. And we were talking about it one day. And he said, New Orleans and New York is the only places I've ever been where one block could separate the hood from multi-million-dollar homes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you ever go down New Orleans and you go down St. Charles Avenue, there's million-dollar homes on St. Charles Avenue. If you go over a couple of blocks, you in the hood.
That's right.
How do those brothers who's robbing houses 2 or 3 blocks from St. Charles Avenue never ever think, well, I know they got plenty of money in that house.
Right.
Let me go 2 blocks over. They refuse. They will never go to that part of town and commit crimes. We've been systematically conditioned to think the way we think. But again, that's a whole nother podcast. So when we start talking about what we've normalized, deviancy has become the new norm. You, Brother Dupree, I remember when tattoos was taboo. You remember that?
Right.
You
Yes.
know, oh, that boy there, he a hoodlum because he got tattoos. Now you have girls, young ladies come to school and their hair flaming yellow.
Correct.
And you start saying, oh, what made you want to, you know, that your hair look like a highlighter. Oh, you just old. Okay. I'm old. There were certain things that you just didn't do. You don't go in the bank and see a woman with tattoos all on her face working with people money.
Well, hold on.
I'm not saying it don't exist.
Now let me say this, because somebody just sent me something and they didn't want to post it on here. So this is the truth. Here's the funny thing. The same cycle we're going through right now, and I remember saying this to somebody yesterday at Mardi Gras. I said, if my father could only see me now, because my daddy told me, just keep living.
Mm-hmm.
I used to laugh at my dad about a few things before he passed away. But my dad said, son, there's going to come a day you're going to be the age I am now, and you're going to see things a little bit differently.
That's right.
He said, and then what the crazy thing is, he said, should you have a son at that time, and I happen to be blessed with 3 of them, he said, they're going to be, depending on what their ages are, the way they see things. See, my sons are 30, 34, and then I've got 13. And true enough, all of them see things differently.
Mm-hmm. They're different generations.
Right. You know, and the craziest thing is, I understand now, because my understanding is a little bit deeper.
Mm-hmm.
We should transfer and leave better. That's what we as a people got to work on.
Yeah.
We got to start wanting who come after us to be better than us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and make it that we position them that they can be better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it saddens me, and I'm going to say some things, and this really messes with my mental health. How can you walk around driving a BMW and having a Gucci handbag, but you need dental work?
Yeah,
get your priorities in line. You know, how is it that every time I see you, you balling in the mix, but the moment that you expire, we've got to have a fried fish dinner to bury you. You know, instead of watch this, our children are trying to figure out how to keep above water when we should be positioning ourselves that the day you expire, 7 days later, there's a lawyer handing out checks to your family members.
Correct.
Talking about, well, we're going to read this will, and this is what the estate left for you to continue moving forward and building on. We should leave prosperity and not leave poverty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we can't get beyond the right now. That's
right.
what we're talking about. We don't think about when we expire. We don't think about when we're old. We think about right now. You know, so we sit there and say, well, how do you do and how you live in the quality of life you living now? I prepared for this 20 years ago.
Correct.
I wanted to, when I retired, to be able to travel, to be able to relax, to not be stressed. Nowadays, everything is crypto. I got to get rich right now. Why don't you just start taking and putting some money away every now and then, and in another 10, 15, 20 years, you'll have this much money and you get 20 years? That makes no sense. That started this whole podcast today, when we start talking about what do we do when we do not understand the principles of sacrifice. We do not understand how to tell our children, I know you don't want to study now, but what you're studying now is going to benefit you later. They don't understand that concept, because if they say, I want, we as parents, we go and make it happen right now.
Right.
So they expect, are they leaving? This is what we talk about all the time at Positive Choices. We have these young people coming into the workforce thinking we're their parents, and we're not. In the workplace, if I ask you to do something, it's not negotiable.
Right.
It's
I'm not your mom and
up
dad.
for discussion.
I'm not your mom and dad.
Hired you for.
Right.
Well, can somebody else do it? No, this is your job.
Correct. Correct. Hold it. We got to stop babying grown men and women that they take that babying mentality and attitude into the workplace. Because when I talk to you, I'm not your mom and dad. I'm not going to clean up. This is one thing that we really got to work on, is that we do so much trying to protect them or put them in a bubble that when they run into the real world, that's why in many cases, not all cases, because the balance is delicate.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth, and then the first thing is, well, that person is prejudiced. No, all people ain't prejudiced. Some folks just saying, why in the world do I have to clean up after you in our company kitchen? It's because mama been cleaning after you at home.
Yeah. I'll never forget the day, man. I walked into the kitchen in Plaza. I was like, who are these dishes for? And what do you think is going to happen with these dishes?
Right.
Do you believe that they're just going to go away, or do you think somebody's going? I couldn't comprehend how someone would put dishes in the sink at the workplace. So we don't teach sacrifice and its place in our life, in the family structure, in the workplace, in society.
Right.
You know,
one of our newest sayings is, that's not my job.
That's not my job.
That's not my job. That's not. Hold it. I see that every time I go grocery shopping.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes look at folk and they look at me strange, but a good friend of mine brought this up. He said, you really want to test somebody's character, go grocery shopping with them and see where they put the grocery cart.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because a lot of folks say that, well, that's not my job to put the grocery cart. They pay folks to do that. Mm-hmm. But if you come back out to your brand new BMW, Mercedes, or Maserati,
and it's got a ding in it.
Oh, you the first one, like, oh Lord. But you yourself be quick not to want to put the card up.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing. If you were not supposed to put the card up, why they got that little basket place for them to go?
That
Isn't
part.
that what that's for?
That part.
So we're looking at little things that you may seem trivial, it may seem tedious. But what we're talking about is the ability for us to sacrifice and understand how sacrifice plays a role in success. Sacrifice
it's the little things.
Is by far the most important part of being successful. Brother Joe Madison on the radio on Urban View.
Yep.
He said the difference between a movement and a moment is sacrifice. A movement is full of sacrifice. A moment is not.
See, and that's the point. A lot of people use those coin phrases like it's not a moment, it's a movement. Not understanding. First of all, let me say this. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I believe everything has a time, a place, a season, a reason, an ebb and a flow. There's going to be good days and bad days. Randy Crawford said everything must change.
That's right.
Nothing stays the same.
That's right.
So family, the young gonna become the old. Mysteries will unfold. That's just the way of time.
Yeah.
Not to quote the song, but just to let y'all understand. Listen, we as the elders, we as the ones who have lived through it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something. This is how I know if you're a good person or a bad person. If you don't went down the road and you know there's a major pothole on that road, and you don't call and tell me, knowing that I'm 10 miles behind you, that
Mm-hmm.
hey, you need to be careful. You don't care about nobody but yourself.
But
And that's the problem these days and times. In this communication we're talking that's messing with people's mental health, we've got too many selfish people who
yeah.
all they're really concerned about is me and mine. As long as I'm okay, and as long as mine are okay,
Mm-hmm.
whatever happens to you is on you.
Am I my brother's keeper?
Come on, talk to me, brother.
So you when we start looking at success, what is more successful than when you're successful, I'm successful.
Come on.
If you're successful and you are not, I've been in so many situations where I tell people, why didn't you tell me? I could have benefited from that information as well. Oh, well, and so there's a term in the business world, the most valuable thing people have is information. And they ain't willing to share it. Until we get out of this crabs in the barrel and not sharing, we are going to continue to fall short. There's principles that the Vietnamese use, there's principles that the Hispanics use that makes everybody in the circle successful. We as African Americans are the only race right now in this society, and again, we can talk about cultural conditioning, that do not have principles of bringing one with you when you go up.
Ooh.
We do not practice that principle enough. The Vietnamese they're the kings and queens of that in America. You see one of them, and they got 10 of them working in there with them. Next thing you know, one of those 10 opening up their spot.
Correct.
If you think I'm kidding, it ain't nobody in Baton Rouge don't know it's more than one Blue store now.
Come on.
It's more than one Blue. We are one of the only races of people who've been conditioned not to bring each other along for success.
Correct.
We have to change that. We have to understand, brother, I'm going to bring you with me. You're going to have to sacrifice. I'm going to sacrifice. But together we're going to be successful.
Correct.
I'm not going to tear you down to make me successful because I don't need to. Until we start to talk about these things and start to address these things, we are going to continuously repeat these things.
That's correct.
So now we look at, you want to be rich and you want to ride the Range Rover and then the BMW and that, but where were you when I had an Escort?
Hold it. And better yet, you want to be the only one riding that.
Yeah.
You don't want me. Hold it. Now I have a saying. I just put this up and okay, so let me go through this for those who don't catch some of the podcasts. I have 3 sayings in my office. First saying is very pertinent to the job I do. And it reminds me of some of my not so good parts of my life. I have a sign that says everybody has secrets until they get caught.
Until they get caught. That's right.
Okay. Next sign I have is today I'm one day closer to my expiration date. I don't have time to play today.
Not waste time with you.
Okay. What you were saying is very crucial. We've got to get to a place where we really stop being crabs in a barrel.
Correct.
And I used to have another little saying pin up. It said, everybody wants you to do good. They just don't want you to do better than them.
Correct. That's right. There's a lady, and she is so important to my success at Alcorn, Miss Jones. And when I first came to Alcorn, Miss Jones was the secretary and the office manager for the social sciences department. And when I hadn't been there 10 days, and then I walked down and I saw the sign on her door. And I asked her, I said, can I take that down and make a copy of it for me? She said, yeah, it is said simply, lack of preparation on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part.
Right.
And people who choose not to sacrifice, who choose not to prepare, who choose not to work hard or listen, I want to bring you along with me. However, if you choose to prepare or you choose to want to do what needs to be done, that's not on me. That's on you. Now, I'm willing to bring you with me, but I can't work for you. You got to work for you. And unfortunately, we have people who want to come along and they only want the rhythm. They don't want the blues.
Right.
They don't want the hard work. They want the paycheck, but they don't want the hard hours.
Right.
So at the point we are, if we don't start to communicate and make some changes in the way that we think, we are going to continuously fall behind other races of people. And what I realize is that we have been brilliant since the age of Egyptians and before. But somewhere we've lost that knack to lead, to be in the forefront. We've gotten comfortable with mediocrity. And we've never been a mediocre people. We've always been exceptional. And I challenge everybody that watched this podcast till next Wednesday to be exceptional for the next 7 days.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know, don't be mediocre. From today, which is Wednesday, to next Wednesday when we meet again, I want you to be exceptional 7 days. Because we are not mediocre. We are not average. But we've gotten complacent and we've become too accepting of not sacrificing so that we can be exceptional. So, I mean, I think that at this point in the podcast, we realize that the information that we give can benefit somebody, Brother Dupree. Somebody heard something they need to hear. And we're continuously, every Wednesday, putting out bangers, putting out information that folks could use to better the quality of their life.
Correct.
We don't do, again, we say it every Wednesday. We don't do this because we ain't got nothing to do on Wednesdays.
Correct.
We made a commitment and we've been doing our part. And I'm going to continue to do my part because today was very important to me because I understand about sacrifice.
Come on.
I'm going to put myself out there tonight. I am currently, right now, I weigh 268 pounds.
Come on.
Easter Sunday, when we come back that Wednesday, if I'm still 260 something, I failed.
Right.
One thing I always say, I hate to fail.
But I got you, brother. I got you. I'm gonna check on.
Help, brother Dupree.
I'm gonna make sure. I'm gonna make sure that you make it, man. You see, that's why I just finished working out before I jumped on this podcast.
And I was going to go work. I said, "Oh Lord, I got this podcast for 8 o'clock because my goal is to go in the morning and then in the evening the whole Lenten season."
Okay.
And if I wasn't here tonight, I was gonna be at the gym.
That's why. But look, get your plan. See.
I got one. Yeah, that's what I got. It started today.
As we get ready to close out on this podcast, family, check out my brother, Positive Choices Counseling Service, counseling.org. It's right there. It's you know, if you need some mental health help, because right now there's so much that's playing with our minds. You know, we're having
$5 a gallon.
Right, right. You know, hold it. Gas is 3.89. That's summa cum laude, bro. I need some relief. Gas looking like GPA.
Yeah, we needed to go back to thank you, Lord. 2.0.
Right. Gas looking like GPAs up in here, bro. So, you know, family, we're just here trying to give you the information because we understand your mental health does matter. A healthy you is a better you. And you got to be physically okay. We want you mentally okay. We want you social economically okay. We want you okay all the way around. Because I'm telling you, whatever your okay is, your okay might not be my okay. But long as your okay is your okay, I'm okay with you.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So,
sir.
check my brother out. I'm going to give him some closing words and we're getting ready to get up out of here.
Hey, know that the key to success is sacrifice. You have to sacrifice. And if you need somebody to help you through hard times when you're struggling, contact Positive Choices. We're here for you. You don't have to go through this alone.
That part. We up out of here. Y'all be blessed. See you next Wednesday. We gone. Peace.
Peace.